You'll want to tune in tonight for Ham Nation. We've got Tim Duffy talking all about RFI, how we can get rid of it. And then Steve, WA1QIX, talking about the AM rally that's about to happen. Stay tuned for Ham Nation.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of Ham Nation is brought to you by DX Engineering. DX Engineering offers practically everything you need to outfit your shack, plus the fastest shipping in the industry. Most in-stock items ship the same day, Monday through Friday until 10 p.m. Eastern. For more information, visit dxengineering.com/hamnation. And by ICOM. For more information, visit icomamerica.com/hamnation.
This is Ham Nation, January 23rd, 2019. We solve your RFI problems. Hello, everybody. We're tuned to Ham Nation, and I'm glad you're here. Welcome. We're going to have an incredible show tonight. Get your pencils out, because we have a lot of things that we're going to leave you with that you need to know. My name is Bob Heil. I'm K9EID, and I'm from the wonderful city of Belleville, Illinois tonight, where it's cold, like 20 degrees. But it'll get warmer, I think, along about March or May or whenever. Well, we want to go see who all's here tonight. First of all, Don Wilbanks is here, and I think he's got some good stuff. What's going on down there? It's probably warm.
It's well, it's not that warm. It's 47 now. We were almost 70 degrees this morning, and going to be in the 50s tomorrow. So warmer than you, that's for sure. But I guess it's we're about seasonable for what we're supposed to be doing. Still rocking the Saints colors because, you know, Who Dat for life, and we're not real happy down here in the Who Dat Nation, but that's all right. Life will go on. And we want to say hello to our WTWW listeners on 5085 and 15.810. If you would like to get your ham radio stuff on WTWW, just email them. The email address is really easy. Email at WTWW.us. And they like signal reports there, too. So go check it out. And so hello to all of our WTWW listeners out there. We've got video from Dr. Scove coming up in just a little bit, Bob. It's going to be good stuff.
It's great. Our favorite lady. And then let's go see what happens to people that go out and run around in transmitters when it's 10 below zero. George, how are you doing tonight? It's good to see you.
Well, Bob, I'm doing a lot better tonight. And, you know, I did go out and buy a little propane heater because, boy, working with flashlights for like a week and a half in cold weather is not a lot of fun, but we got through it, and we're going to have one heck of a tales from the transmitter site probably next week. I couldn't shoot any video because, you know, you're trying to get the transmitter back on and everything working there. You really don't have time to hold a camera, but I did get some nice shots, and I documented my adventure here for, well, it didn't end until this past Saturday. It started on January 1st. So we'll have a look at that real quick. This weekend, I'm going to be at the Capital City Ham Fest at the Trade Mart right here in Jackson, Mississippi. Friday, it's from 5 p.m. till 8 p.m. Saturday, 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Always a great ham fest, one of the better ham fests in this part of the South. And looking forward to it. Don, will you be with us this year? You had mentioned it earlier.
I'm going to try. I need to do some work on my car, but I think I may put that off. I've been doing a lot of car work here lately. But no, I'm planning on it. Planning on coming up there Saturday. Yeah, if everything works out.
Oh, cool. We look forward to seeing you if you make it, and a lot of other people here that we see every year. Sometimes this is the only place we ever see them is at this Ham Fest. But I know a lot of people who watch the show will be there, and looking forward to meeting and greeting some of them. Bob?
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm going to be in Collinsville, Illinois. That's just across the river from the Arch, which is not very far from where I am here in Belleville. They have a great thing they've been doing for years called Winterfest. So bring all of your old gear and money. We have a lot of swapping going on and so on. And we're going to be expoing the parametric receive audio system. So we'll be there at Collinsville. Well, I'm really looking forward to tonight. First of all, we're going to talk about the AM rally later on. We've got a very special guest. I'm very excited to have Steve, WA1QIX. He is the voice of the AM group on the East Coast. He's going to be with us, and W1AW, the whole deal. You don't want to miss this. W1AW is on AM, okay? And we're going to talk about that. But lots before all that. I'm bringing my good friend Tim Duffy with us tonight. Tim, how are you doing from that $1 million station you have there?
Hello, Bob. Happy New Year to you and to everybody watching here this evening. And we're a little warmer than you are. I think we're at about 35 degrees here tonight. It's raining, and tomorrow it'll be freezing rain. So we've battened down the hatches, and the antennas should be good to go. So we're happy to be here tonight. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, well, what we're going to talk about tonight is a subject that all of us need to pay attention to, and that's RFI, radio frequency interference. And what led me to this is we were out there a couple months ago, and we visited your station. And I want all of you viewers to pay attention to what's going on here. Look at all those stations. What is there, 11, Tim? Is that right, when they're all going?
That's right. There's 11 stations here.
And these are legal limit. And there has got to be some magic to keep the RFI down. That's why I brought Tim with us, because he's going to be the master of that. So, Tim, let's talk a little bit about RFI. We all have it to some extent. You might not know it, but it's there. What do we do about it?
Yeah, and you know, it works both ways. It gets you coming and going. The problem with RFI is that our amateur radio receivers can receive signals, noise, in the amateur radio bands that we don't want to have. So that's one kind of RFI, is the RFI that actually interferes with our operations, makes our noise floor higher, covers up weak signals. And then the other part of the RFI is RF that we is part of our transmissions, part of SWR on antennas, part of loose connectors, part of misadjusted amplifiers or antenna tuners. In fact, we had a club member here at our local club that was having problems. Every time he would speak on 80 meters, he was trying to use a G5RV. Every time he would speak, the radio would actually fold back, and it sounded like his microphone was breaking up. And so we thought, well, maybe it's his microphone. We replaced the microphone. It wasn't it. Then we thought, well, maybe it's the power supply, and that the power supply could not supply enough current. That wasn't it. It was RF on the shield of the coax. And just by using a line isolator, Bob, this is RG400 coax wound around two number 31 toroids. These are 2.4 inches. And this one has about 11 turns. We put this in between his antenna tuner and his radio, and voila, no more breaking up, because there was RF coming back down the shield every time he talked. And here's one of those number 41 toroids. Notice it's got the blue markings, and we're going to start the slide deck here, and I'm going to show you that at DX Engineering, we mark all the toroids. So even if you put them in the junk box, they're all marked. And here is the selection chart. You can find this on the DX Engineering website, but this shows all the various styles of ferrite toroids. And these ferrites are they're magical devices when it comes to radio frequency interference. And they come in lots of styles, and they come in various mixes, and those mixes determine what frequency area they're going to work the best on. And so go to the DX Engineering website and take a look at this, and you see at the bottom of this slide here the various colors. The number 31 is blue, and that is the best for the HF bands. There are toroids that even work better on 160 meters and 80 meters, and those would be the green and the pink. And then there are toroids that are have better mixes for the VHF and UHF bands. So you want to make sure that you select the right toroids for your application. So let's take a look at a couple of applications here. Here is these beads here. These are number 31 beads that go over the RG213 or DXE 400 Max coax cable. There's 40 of them here, and this is an optimized choke for 160 through 20 meters. It will work on the 15 and 17 and 10 meter bands, but what this does is stops all of the RF that can be on the outside shield of the coax cable. We want the RF to be on the inside conductor. We want that outside shield to be cold. We don't want RF coming into it, and we don't want RF coming out of it. And so this can really solve a lot of problems. This is known as a bead choke, and I use these at the feed point of every one of my antenna systems here at K3LR. And also, once the feed line comes into the shack, I use one just before it hooks up to the watt meter. And you can see there's the weatherproofing here. This is shrink tube. Once you put these beads over the coax, you can then put the shrink tube over it, shrink it down, and it's good to go. So the next slide shows one of our, this is a linear amplifier package that has some clamp-on beads. And the clamp-on beads allow you, so you can go around wiring, AC wires, and other control wires without having to take the connectors off. So they actually split apart and then can be reassembled with the plastic carrier. But we have a little sheet, some documentation, and enough of these toroids to calm down any RFI that you might have between your amplifier and your radio. So we've done some research to package this stuff together for your HF amplifiers. And let's go to the next slide, Victor. Here's the number 31 toroid that I talked about. We sell it in a nice 4-pack, all marked so that you never have to worry what is the mix. These are 2.4 inches in diameter on the outside and 1.4 inches on the inside. And I wind DC cables around these. I wind my relay cables. Any cable that goes in and out of the radios here at K3LR has ferrite on them. And why? To make sure that they're RF cold. We don't want to have RF floating around, causing interference, or in the case of RFI, getting into things like power supplies and Ethernet switches. So next slide. And here, this is showing these clamp-ons. These are really great devices because a lot of times you can't take off the connectors that are on the cables that you want to protect. So we sell some combo packs. These, again, are the number 31 mix. That is the best mix for HF, and these do a tremendous job. You need to remember that the power in the choking capability of all of these toroids is as many turns as you can get on them. So you don't want to just have one turn. If you can do 2, 3, 4 turns, it goes up by the square of the turns, the choking efficiency or the common mode rejection. Next slide. And here is another feed line choke. I like to use this sometimes in the shack. This is used on RG400 cable. It's about the size of RG58, but it's a Teflon dielectric, so it can handle the full legal limit power. And then there's some small beads. These are actually number 43 beads. And this works on all bands, very effective from 160 meters through 6 meters. And you just slide the beads over. the coax. We supply 2 connectors, and along with the heat shrink tubing. And this is a great choke. It's more flexible than the larger beads. It's a little lighter weight, and it works very, very well. This choke was designed by W0IYH, who unfortunately is now a silent key, but I've been using the IYH CFC 50 chokes for years, and they keep the RF off the outside of the coax cable. Next slide. And here are some other low power chokes. If it's just for a receive only system, the Yankee Clipper Contest Club came up with a really nice choke just using 2 ferrite beads. And they've got a little kit here. This has got F connectors on it, so it's intended for a 75 ohm system that you might have with an active receive antenna or maybe even a beverage antenna. Again, you don't want to have noise get in the way of listening for weak signals. And these are very, very effective, providing more than 5,000 ohms of choking impedance. Next slide. So here's that line isolator I talked about. You can have a line isolator that you just wind yourself with the cores, which is what I showed initially, or we have the line isolator in a nice plastic box, so you can use it outside if you like, at the feed point of an antenna, maybe the feed point of a vertical, or even on a Yagi antenna. And also, these I use these all over the shack, and they work very well. Again, it's a very simple concept, just the ferrite core, the number 31, a pair of them, and the RG400, which is double shielded Teflon dielectric with a stranded center conductor and wound around the toroid, very closely wound. You want to make sure that those turns are right up against the toroid for maximum efficiency. And the next slide. And here's another receive choke, very similar to the Yankee Clipper choke, but actually has even more choking power, designed for low noise receive antennas, a 75 ohm system with the F connectors on the chassis. Next slide. And when you're thinking about your station, you know, whether it's a large station or a small station, even small stations, it's really important. This book that has just recently come out in the last year or so, it was written by Ward Silver. It should be on the New York Times bestseller list because it is absolutely a fabulous book. He's got a lot of information about how to use ferrite for chokes and to lower your noise floor and to take the RF out of your station. And he also has a lot of information on best practices for grounding your station. Many of us don't hook up the ground lug on the back of the radio, and we really need to do that, but there's a right way and a wrong way. And it's all explained in this book. It's a very easy read. I keep this book handy all the time, and I go back, and every time I reread a chapter, I learn something new. So I can't emphasize how important it is when you want to get the most. Look, you're spending hundreds and thousands of dollars to put together a station. Why not make it work as good as you can? Next slide. And so you can, come back and replay Ham Nation on YouTube, and you can take a look at these links. These are my 4 favorite links for resources on how to build chokes. So you can save a lot of money if you build your own chokes. You know, get the cores, get the coax, and you can. This K9YC, Jim Brown is an excellent engineer, and he has got a choke cookbook. And if you just Google K9YC choke cookbook, it comes right up. The PDF is there, and he has got so much information that is very, very valuable to anybody that is having trouble with RFI. Also, Chuck Councilman, W1HIS, if you Google him, he has a very nice article that he wrote It's a PDF, and wait till you see how much ferrite he's got. He's got it all over the place, and it lowers his noise floor and lowers the interference. And then N0AX Award Silver gave a nice YouTube presentation at Contest University, and you can watch that. He actually will teach you how to do grounding and bonding, and also he puts in there some of the chokes. And the PowerPoint slide deck that he used at Contest University is available right on the Contest University website under videos and files. There's lots of stuff up there, but these slide decks on grounding and bonding are absolutely phenomenal that Ward did. So make sure you go take a look at these resources. You'll learn a lot. If you have questions, you can always email me or email Gordo or email George. We'd love to help you take care of whatever RFI problem. Maybe we can give you some hints. And if you have the other slide deck available, there we go. So here's another application. I wanted to show you. This is the number 31 mix toroid. This is in a receive application. There are 27 turns here, and I use these on my low noise receiving antennas for 80 and 160 meters. And these chokes have over 10,000 ohms of choking power, and they're very easy to build. Put them in a plastic box, and this is even smaller coax. This is RG179 that is wound around there, but you use the tie wraps to hold them in place, and it just does a phenomenal job. And the next slide. Here we are. These I talked about the NUC computers, NUC from Intel. These are the computers we use here at K3LR. We've got 25 of these things in service right now, and all of the DC lines and the signal lines have ferrite chokes in place. Bob mentioned when he visited here, he was just flabbergasted at all the ferrite that was here, and that is to keep all the interference down. So we don't want to get RF into the computers, and we don't want the computers to generate any noise that we might hear in the receivers. So it works both ways, and this is on the 12-volt DC supply going into the NUC computers. Next slide. And here is the WRTC, the World Radio Team Championship setup that I used in Germany, and this was actually the test setup that I used. And you can see all of the chokes that were installed that I used with the IC7610. You can see these are all number 31s on all the control cables, because every control cable, every speaker cable, every Ethernet cable can be an antenna. So you just can't choke one of them. You got to choke them all, because you don't want them to act as antennas. There were teams at WRTC that did not use ferrite cores that had interstation interference. We had zero. And it was all about grounding and bonding and the correct use and winding of these ferrite cores. It doesn't make, you're not going to win any beauty contests, but it's sure going to make your station work better. You're going to hear better. It's going to take the noise floor down significantly, and your microphone won't be hot anymore. You know, you get your lips close and you get bit. The ferrite is the magic in the magic here at the station at K3LR, and it can be the magic for you too. What do you think, Bob?
Well, I knew going into this that you were going to be the master, because you have such an extensive station there with 11 full power. We're not talking about little 100-watt jobs. We're talking about big stuff. And I appreciate you giving your secret, so to speak. But the thing that I find so often, I'll have guys call me and say, I got RFI, what's wrong with this microphone? This does not generate any kind of signal except audio. It does not generate RF. It's the way your system's hooked up. Well, it don't happen with my hand mic. Well, you have longer cables, you have all different connectors, and the key to this is, and I just really praise you guys on this one, Tim. they'll say, well, I need an RF bead. No, that's like saying I need a tire. Are we talking for your Volkswagen? Or are we talking about for bus? Are we talking about an airplane? Tire. There are all kinds of them. And you have to be very specific. And boy, DX Engineering did it on this one. I love that you've color-coded them and helped the guys to be able to look at that chart. And they can come back and make the favorite this program, because there's a lot of information there. And I really appreciate you doing that. And we'll maybe come back and have a chapter 2. And we got some thoughts that Tim and I are working on to help everybody get rid of that crazy RF, because it's out there and it's roaming around, and you have to be able to stop it. I have one little trick I want to show you. This does not work. Now listen to me. This does not work for everybody, but I've helped a lot of people. It just depends on how their grounding system. You take the connector. That's the connector that goes into your radio. It's on the end of our cables, the end of our adapters. Pull that little shell back. And what you need to do is take a straight piece of wire on the shield. It'll probably be pin 7 on an ICOM. You take that wire, pull it back through, and attach it to the little screw on the cable clamp. And when you put it all back together and tighten the ring, what have you done? You have absolutely assured that the shield is going to be connected to the chassis, because surprisingly enough, not all transmitters have that shield grounded to the chassis. So that's a little trick. But sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it creates. But as Tim has been telling you, you have to try different things. And I hope that this has been of help to you. And let us know. Email us. Let us know. And if you don't be afraid, don't be shy. No questions dumb the first time. Right, Tim?
Absolutely. Yeah, we want to have guys have fun and not get frustrated with their stations. And so, I had to learn this stuff. You had to learn this stuff, Bob, from others. And so we want to help, the new guys and inexperienced guys experience the magic of ferrite, because it is amazing the results that you can get.
Absolutely. I'm still learning, by the way, because, see, I haven't grown up because I don't know what I want to do when I get big, and I'm learning all this stuff. Thanks very much for coming. I look forward to hearing from all of the guys, and I'm sure you do too. If you guys ever get a chance, you need to go visit K3LR. What a crazy place. Wow. All right. Well, here's a crazy place and a really crazy guy to run it, and that's Don Wilbanks. Don, how are you doing? Are you doing okay?
I'm doing great. I have learned so much about RFI and ferrite just in the last, few minutes that it's crazy. And which is why we're very happy to have DX Engineering on as a sponsor. If you call DX Engineering for technical help, these are the guys you're gonna talk to. That's a brain trust right there. There are probably decades and, well, maybe centuries of amateur radio experience in that picture right there. I've met a lot of these guys because I got to visit DX Engineering and K3LR a couple of years ago when I got to go up there. And if you ever get the chance, go, and you'll meet some of these people. These men and women are brilliant, just absolutely brilliant. That's why DX Engineering is unlike any other ham radio retailer, I think, because of the expertise that's in there. And it all starts at the top with Tim Duffy, K3LR, as you've heard right there. So if you've ever visited DX Engineering's website or leafed through the catalog, you know about the great selection of equipment they offer, but you get a whole lot more. A high level of customer support, like we just saw, delivered by a team of amateur radio operators who absolutely go above and beyond to ensure excellent customer satisfaction. And DX Engineering makes getting the equipment you need fast and simple, too. Ordering is super easy. You can call DX Engineering's toll-free number 7 days a week, or, of course, the easy-to-use website is available 24/7, 365, and you can expect fast and affordable shipping, too. In fact, in-stock orders placed before 10 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday, ship the same day, typically. All products, whether it's a single clamp or a multi-piece antenna system, are expertly packaged in DX Engineering's warehouse and shipped directly to the customer's door. And you ought to see that operation. Holy moly, Kingfish. And you also enjoy free standard shipping for most orders over $99. Expect a high level of support during and after the purchase, too. You get direct assistance from active hams, people who speak your language and can answer your questions and help you make the right purchase decision. In fact, the DX Engineering Customer Technical Support Team, here we go. Just like I said, more than 300 combined years of amateur radio expertise. And these guys are experts in ham radio, whether you're interested in digital modes, contesting, DXing, MCOM, it's all there. Not sure how to set up your digital handy talker, get started with FT8, have a question about your new SDR rig or how to tune the vertical antenna you just purchased? DX Engineering is right there to help. Just email or call for prompt technical assistance. And in addition to selling great brands like ICOM, Kenwood, and Yaesu, DX Engineering also designs, manufactures, and sells its own private brand of amateur radio products. And these things are top-notch. For years, DX Engineering's engineers have been developing products that make operating easier, more enjoyable, and more competitive for their customers. And that's why it's called DX Engineering and not DX Retailing, because they engineer their own products. Choose from hundreds of DX Engineering products like loop and vertical antennas, tower accessories, toolkits, coaxial cables, active receive antenna packages, and more. The products include DX Engineering's patented next-generation crimp, solder, PL 259 connectors, the NCC2 receive antenna phasing system, advanced design thrust bearings, patented radio plates, way more items than we have time to talk about today. And all of the DX Engineering brand products come with the most detailed, easy-to-understand manuals in the business, all crafted by their own technical writer. And they are tested, and they work because they're used in a contesting environment. And there's nothing harder than a contesting environment. There's nothing that's going to show weaknesses in what you got than being in a big-time contest. And K3LR is a big-time contester, believe me. DX Engineering ships faster than anybody else in the industry. Most orders placed by 10 p.m. Eastern, shipped the same day. With proven products and expert advice, DX Engineering is helping you shrink the globe. Request your catalog or shop online 24/7 at dxengineering.com/hamnation. If you don't have this DX Engineering catalog, you need this in your shack because it's more than just a book about a candy store. There's technical information in here, and of course, that's just a phone call or an email away as well with the Brain Trust. And there they are. Those are the guys you talk to when you call the DX Engineering 800-777-0703 phone number. These guys are good. These guys are the best in the industry. DX Engineering. Let's, speaking of best in the industry, we've got the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov right after this update from Amateur Radio Newsline. From Amateur Radio Newsline report number 2151, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, January 23rd, 2019. We begin this week with news of the death of a courageous war veteran who was among those to use their talents to thwart the enemy through code during World War II. Neil Rapp, WB9 VPG, has his story.
Alfred K. Newman was one of the hundreds of Navajos who served in the United States Marine Corps, baffling the Japanese by using a code based on the Navajo language. He died on January 13th in a Bloomfield, New Mexico nursing home at age 94. In the Marines, he had served on Guam, Iwo Jima, New Caledonia, and elsewhere during his time with the 1st Battalion, 21st Marine Regiment, and 3rd Marine Division. He is remembered among the hundreds of Navajos who rushed to enlist in the U.S. military following the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor. By some estimates, there are now fewer than 10 surviving code talkers. Thank you for your service, Private First Class Newman.
Scientists and observers of space weather are gearing up for a gathering in Ohio in March that promises to be a weekend of ionospheric inquiry.
2 months before the big Hamvention gathering in Xenia, Ohio, a different assembly of amateurs is taking place in Ohio, this time in Cleveland. It's called the HamSci 2019 Workshop Set, and it's giving space weather and the ionosphere center stage. The program will take place on the 22nd and 23rd of March on the campus of Case Western Reserve University. HamSci's founder, Nathaniel Frizzell, W2NAF, and the university's amateur radio club, W8EDU, are asking for presenters to submit papers for the conference, which will explore such subjects as traveling ionospheric disturbances, sporadic E, geomagnetic storms, and the use of ham radio techniques to study many of these phenomena. Presentations are already scheduled by ham radio author Ward Silver, N0AX, and propagation specialist Carl Lutzelschwab, K9LA. Amateurs who would like to join the lineup of those giving talks should send their abstracts no later than February 1st to hamsci@hamsci.org. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jack Parker, W8ISH.
Hams with an appetite for climbing and activating summits will get to sit down and indulge their appetites for a hearty meal. Plans are already underway for this global gathering.
It may seem a long time until June, but when organising an annual event where attendees often come from the other side of the world, early planning is important. The official date for the 5th Annual Summits on the Air Dinner has now been set for Friday the 21st of June, the first day of the Ham Radio Friedrichshafen Hamfest in southern Germany. As this is the 5th year of the event, the organiser, AR Newsline's own Ed Durrant, DD5LP, has set a challenge to the expected 20 or more attending. They should present something related to the number 5. Their 5 best summits, perhaps, or their 5 most important pieces of SOTA equipment. In any case, if the last 5 years are anything to go by, it will be an enjoyable evening out at a country restaurant only 10 minutes away from a SOTA summit, of course. For Amateur Radio Newsline, I'm Jeremy Boot, G4NJH.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for 4 decades and counting at arnewsline.org. With Neil Rapp, WB9VPG, Jack Parker, W8ISH, Jeremy Boot, G4NJH, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe. I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3. We'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. Now here's the solar update with Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
A coronal hole that we've been doing a dance with since last year is rotating into the Earth strike zone, and it could bring us yet another solar storm. That story and more in the Shorty this week. True to solar minimum, the space weather has been a bit on the quiet side lately, but activity is coming. We have a coronal hole that we have seen since August of last year. I can't even count how many times we've seen it now. It is still here, and it is rotated once again Earth side. It's going to be entering the Earth strike zone here in the next couple days, and it could very well bring us yet another solar storm. So your aurora photographers at high latitudes, stay on your toes. This could actually give you a pretty good show. At mid-latitudes, maybe not so much, but there is a chance, so don't count yourselves out. The only thing is that this will be disrupting amateur radio operators and emergency responders on Earth's night side. I know things have been pretty good for you guys lately, so expect a little bit of a rough patch here about midweek or so. Now, on top of that, we do have a returning region that's going to be rotating into the Earth view here in the next day or two. It will continue to boost the solar flux, so at least radio propagation on Earth's day side will continue to be good, but we don't have to worry about any big flares from this region, so your GPS reception will also stay pretty nice. Switching to your solar storm conditions and aurora possibilities over the coming week, if you are one of the early viewers of my forecast, like my Patreon community, be sure to catch the lunar eclipse of the Wolf Moon tonight. It's going to be happening really soon, so make sure you get a chance to catch it if you indeed have clear skies. We won't get another chance for a full lunar eclipse until 2021. But that's not the only excitement. We do have a solar storm coming from that coronal hole that is rotating into the Earth strike zone. At high latitudes, NOAA's expecting major storm conditions. As a matter of fact, about a 60% chance of a major storm. And at mid-latitudes, we're expecting unsettled to active conditions with about a 20% chance of a minor storm. So this doesn't mean you aurora photographers at mid-latitudes that you're out of luck. You could actually get some aurora views, but you're going to have to stay on your toes. Switching to your solar flare and particle radiation storm outlook over the coming week, we do have a bright region that's beginning to rotate into Earth view, but it's not strong enough to be a sunspot. So the sun is still considered spotless, and we have no big risk for radio blackouts from any big solar flares. The nice thing is that we do have the solar flux being boosted into the 70s, so we're back into marginal radio propagation, and it looks like these conditions are going to stay all week. The nice thing too is that GPS users, you can rejoice. The day side looks great for GPS reception. Now, because we are in solar minimum, the cosmic ray penetration is higher than it normally would be. So you frequent flyers, and this includes you air crew who fly over 800 hours annually and fly at high latitudes and high altitudes, you are in the marginal range for radiation dose, and this does include prenatal passengers. So please be aware of this in your flight plans. And for you early viewers of my forecasts, I thought I would throw this little bit about the eclipse in here for you, because it's going to be happening here in a very short while. Now, I've got this animation that shows in UTC what time to look for it. And as you can tell from the map, that this eclipse is going to be seen by a very large part of the populated world. So if you are in Europe or in the Northern America or even South America, go take a look, because it's going to be the last eclipse you can see, a full eclipse at least, until 2021. So the space weather this week is getting very exciting. We have a coronal hole that is going to be rotating into the Earth strike zone here in the next couple days, and it could easily bump us up to storm levels. Especially at high latitudes, we could get some decent aurora, with even a chance for some aurora at mid latitudes. So your aurora photographers, definitely keep your batteries charged. On top of that, we do have a bright region that's beginning to rotate into Earth view, and it's bumping the solar flux up into the balmy 70s. How's that for solar minimum, huh? At least amateur radio and shortwave radio responders, you guys get a decent chance for some marginal radio propagation on Earth's day side. You can't beat that. The only issue you might have is some problems on the night side when the solar storm hits, but then again, you might get auroral propagation as well, so don't give up. Now, the one nice thing is that you GPS users, everything looks pretty good for you guys, and as long as you stay away from the dawn dust terminators and away from aurora when the solar storm hits, you should be looking pretty good. I'm Tamitha Skov. Thank you for watching.
Thank you, Dr. T. Obviously, the eclipse information is dated because her report is a couple of days old. She's been extremely busy this week, as she always is. But the solar storm information, that should be hitting us right about now. So there you go. That's the latest from Dr. T. And check her out on Twitter and also at spaceweatherwoman.com. George, our friend Randy, is messing around out in the desert. What's going on with him?
Well, he is messing around out in the desert with Gordo, so we really don't know what's going on for sure.
Nothing good can come of that. Nothing good can come of that.
Well, we have some evidence right here that we're going to explore. But first, a public service announcement. I used one of these 5 or 6 years ago. You might have seen it. This is a circuit rider pen. You know, it's one of these neat little pens that has conductive ink in it, and you're supposed to be able to take it and draw on paper or a printed circuit board or whatever and just lay down conductive traces right away with it. I used it on a project 6 years ago, and I pulled that project back out this week for something I've been working on. And let me say, the best use of this thing right here is for throwing it at your camera or something, because you do not want to use it. I mean, sure, you can draw it and you'll get something that conducts right now, but if you need it to conduct later, you know, you're better off shooting craps or something, man. It just is not worth it. So I've got 2 of those. I'm going to throw them both out. But now, not live, but recorded from the desert, Randy's got a little bit of what's going on at Quartzfest this year.
Good morning, Quartzfest. Sunrise. So we're working a contest, sort of. I made one voice contact on 6-meter voice with somebody else here at Quartzfest. Bob has worked 2 people on FT8 on 6 meters.
Back into the Phoenix area.
So it'd be nice if the band opened, but look who's in our group here now.
Hey,
Terry.
How are you?
Good. Where's Amy?
She's hiding out in there right now.
She's hiding out in there right now. So what are you guys building now here?
So this is a clone of the Crank IR. I put it together for Field Day this last year.
Okay.
It was like a couple-hour build just for fun. So we're going to try it out here.
And over here, you've put together...
I'm building a 6-meter Moxon antenna. So
no, I thought there was a living room.
No, in the living room. Yeah, living room too. But I'm going to work on this thing. So I 3D printed some parts to make it fast to put up. It's going to be kind of a little kit that can go in a bag.
Here's the rods for
it. Oh, yeah. So just the fiberglass snow poles.
Snow poles, okay.
Yeah, just get them at Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that. And then these will...
Oh, so we're going to build this from almost scratch here.
Yeah, these go into the ends here like this, and it'll create a stretcher frame.
Yeah.
And then this little one that comes out will be for where the feed line comes in.
Yeah. Well, Jerry's up on the roof.
What are you thinking of? We didn't extend it far enough.
Didn't extend it far enough.
I can't reach it.
Can't reach it. Got to pull it down and start over.
Life's not worth living. The fans are so bad.
Fans are so bad. So we have a campfire going. Dinner's in the oven. I think that's about it for day one of Quartzsite. So I got these little robots, and they're controlling them by radio and watching it on a video screen on the other side here. What you guys are doing?
What are we doing?
Yeah.
We're making drones and seeing how they run and how they're different from Mars. So it's basically a copy of the Mars rovers, but on Earth, and also they're faster.
Faster. So then who is we?
Who is we? The entire team of Azara. All the kids over there are the ones that built the rovers. So these were built over a series of weeks.
Cool. Cool. What's your name?
Ashton.
Ashton, and you have a call sign?
KI7HHU, or Happy Happy Universe.
Happy. Cool. Thank you. Well, it's hard to see, even the sun on the monitor, but you're controlling the robots with an HT and using the touchstone pad to control the direction that it moves.
We are officially kicked off now. That's all. See you later.
And it's totally my honor to present Gordo.
Oh my God. Oh, wow.
With the first Tesla. The first Tesla Ultimate Amateur Radio Operator Award to Gordon West.
That is wonderful.
He is so deserving of this, and then some.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you all. What we need is on the count of 3, we want to know who you are. We're not going to go around as if this were a contest on 20 meters. Let's hear those call signs. Randy will pan, and let's see who knows how to bust a pile up. So make it loud. And here we go with the Quartzsite 2019 Who's Who. You're here. Call sign. Well, that's called an early bird. Let's hear those call signs now.
DX. I hear DX. Saggy, huh? Day 2 of the Moxon project. We need a cable shrinker.
A what?
Cable shrinker or rod lengthener.
I'm gonna have to find a way to lengthen these a little bit, I think. But I think I can do that because I was gonna cut these in half anyways to put the little connectors.
Yeah.
So I might be able to add a little length to them in doing so.
Well, Mr. Ray's come over to hang out for a little while.
Hello there.
Hello.
Chillaxing.
Chillaxing.
Yeah.
Born to ride. Good morning, Quartzfest. It's Wednesday morning sunrise. About 36 degrees out this morning. Brr. It's always a good thing to check the schedule to see what's on today. We have DMR networks, solar controllers, handy hams, outdoor survival, WindLink, Ladies Circle, FT8, working logging and configuring contacts, DIY electric bikes, tracking rockets. I hear Bob's generator running. That might mean there's coffee. Let's take a look. Coffee patrol. I said the generator's running.
Ready to go.
That must mean there's coffee.
There's coffee.
It's a Quartzfest morning. What we do every morning is move the solar panels because the sun sets over there and it's coming up over there. So I've got to swing everything around. Good morning, Gordo and Susie.
Ham exams this morning
Yeah.
at Quartzfest.
Yeah.
And no wind.
All types of rigs out here. Here's a tent that falls out from the back of a pickup truck. And here's Ray Novak's rig with his 40-meter hex beam on the back of his motorhome. Pretty impressive. See all types of setups out here, you know. Nice, modern, new RVs, and others that look like to be a lifetime project. Fully customized. And here's everybody out on the solar walkabout. Let's take a closer look.
What kind of battery bank? Golf cart batteries in a series parallel arrangement. And the total ampere hours is about 600 ampere hours.
How long would you say you're able to be off grid without any 110 from anything else?
Well,
Just
pretty
on
much
solar.
as long as the propane lasts.
Oh.
You know, the propane runs the refrigerator.
Yeah.
The rest of it just goes on forever. I can go 2 or 3 days, you know, depending on how many radios I leave turned on.
Yeah.
The thing typically around here, the way things are at the moment, I'll be down to 80% by morning, and then by mid-afternoon it's all charged up again.
It's a sad day today. Jerry and Amy have to leave. They're gonna leave about noon. It's been a lot of fun having them join us this year. We've had a lot of good times.
You know, one of these years, I'm going to have to make it out there. That looks like such a fun event. And I had some numbers here, but apparently they didn't make it back here to the bench on this year's attendance numbers. It didn't quite hit the record attendance, but I think it wasn't off much. It's right there at the record. So great event, and certainly one to put on your bucket list. Well, you know, Randy's always looking for some photos of your projects and descriptions of what you're building. Photos, no videos. He wants to know what you've been building, soldering, wrenching, and drilling. Send your photos along with the description to Randy at k7age@outlook.com, and you could be in a future edition of Show Us Your Project. And right now, we're going to get a message from ICOM, and we'll be right back because we got stuff to give away. Listen up, hams. Soon, ICOM will be releasing the new IC9700. It's the latest transceiver bringing direct sampling and software-defined receiver technology to the VHF and UHF arena. You're going to want to keep this rig on your radar. The IC9700 is packed with features including all-mode tri-band covering 144, 430, 440, as well as 1200 megahertz, center design style 4.3-inch color touchscreen, dual watch operation, and full duplex operation in satellite mode. Smooth satellite operation with normal reverse tracking and 99 satellite channels. D-Star providing digital clear audio and internet-capable communications. Digital data mode providing 128 kilobits per second data communications. Look for the new IC9700 coming soon. Attention all hams. ICOM knows that ham clubs play a big role in bringing ham communities together to learn from their peers and industry leaders. As a way to give back and help you on your mission, ICOM has launched a promotion exclusively for U.S. ham clubs and the HamFest they're involved with. By registering your club, you could win ICOM swag, a Skype presentation for your club, or your HamFest an ICOM booth setup. Register today for your chance to win at ICOMamerica.com/hams. And you can tune in and enter to win after each episode of Ham Nation. Go to icomamerica.com/HamNation and register to win great swag prizes like T-shirts and hats, and you'll be automatically entered into the drawing for a radio each month. And for January, that radio is going to be the ICOM IC2730A dual band, dual watch mobile. It's got a large LCD display, 50 watts on both VHF and UHF, VHF, 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 UHF, or UHF, UHF simultaneous receive, built-in weather alert, optional Bluetooth board, and there's a free downloadable PC programming software available. It's a great analog radio, the IC2730A, and you could win. icomamerica.com/HamNation after this and each episode of Ham Nation. Sign up and register to win. And don't forget to follow ICOM America Inc. on Facebook and Twitter. And now, Gordo's not here this week, and I just happen to have one of his books right here that I'm going to give away because he's not here and he can't stop me. I asked a question last week right out of Gordo's book. This is the extra class edition right here. What is the function of a reactance modulator? Is it to produce PM signals by using an electrically variable resistance? Or is it to produce AM signals by using an electrically variable inductance or capacitance? Is it to produce AM signals by using an electrically variable resistance? Or is it to produce PM signals by using an electrically variable inductance or capacitance? Well, Bill, K8WWS, knew the answer to that. He said, George, it's to produce PM signals by using an electrically variable inductance and capacitance. And thanks for what you do for the hobby, and enjoy all your shows, and look forward to viewing all your YouTube contributions. Well, thank you, Bill. And Gordo, as soon as he gets back from Quartzfest, we'll be getting you one of his study guides in the mail. And these are the preferred method. If you're not a ham yet and you want to get your license, Gordo's got the books for you. If you need to upgrade to general or extra, I highly recommend these as the best source for study material, because it's not just the questions and answers. He actually goes into a little of the background on them. So thanks, Gordo, for giving these books here to give out to some lucky viewer tonight, and the lucky viewer was Bill. For next week, I've got another question here, and this one, this weekend is Winter Field Day, and it's something I've been threatening to set up and operate for several years now. It always falls on the weekend of the Capital City Hamfest here in Jackson, so once again, I won't make it, but I know a lot of people will be having fun with Winter Field Day. I want to know what date was the first Winter Field Day? Who knows the answer to that? If you can answer that, well, send your answer to me, hamnationcontest@gmail.com, and you might win this right here, a DX Engineering sports bag. It's a nice tote bag here, perfect for taking to the gym or to Winter Field Day, any field day, or any Hamfest. A lot of room in this thing right here, and it's heavy-duty canvas as well. HamNationContest@gmail.com. Tell me, when was the first Winter Field Day held? And that's all I got from here, Bob. Next week, we'll be back with that Tales from the Transmitter side and just kind of chronicle my first half of January and how it finally ended up, and I got out of it. Boy, what a tough spot. Now, you've got someone here who's got what looks like to me a really nice radio station.
We have a very special person, and I'm very, very honored and happy to have him here. Before we do that answer you're looking for, there were 845 there this year. The record was 851 at Quartzfest, so it got real close, but just thought I'd let you know that. Well, for anybody that watches this program the past, how long we've been there, 6 or 7 or whatever years, you know that most of my activities on AM. And we started about, I don't know, 7 years ago. W1AW invited these two characters to operate a contest. We're not contesters, but we went there and operated the whole weekend on AM, and we really enjoyed it. So we know that the East Coast is loaded with the hot dogs, and the number one operator to me, because I hear his signal out in the Midwest stronger than anybody, is Steve. Hello, Steve. It's WA1QIX. It's good to have you here.
Well, it's good to be here, Bob. Thanks for having me on. It's been an interesting program. The whole segment about the RFI couldn't have been truer. Believe me, I've got ferrites all over this place. But this station is mostly a conglomeration of junk that I have put together and built transmitters. You can't see much of it here, but this is a 28 by 28 foot room that's full of homebrew transmitters. But that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the AM Rally, which is coming up the 1st of February, starting at 7 p.m. So 7 p.m. Eastern Time, February 1st, and it runs all the way through to 2 a.m. Eastern Time, Monday, February 4th. That's the AM Rally. And as you can see there, that's the snippet right there from the website, amrally.com, if you want to find out more. And it's a wonderful event. I've got some statistics from last year's AM Rally. We had some 830 participants in the event, and we had over 2,300, as I recall, individual QSOs during the event itself. W1AW will be operating, and hundreds and hundreds of other AM stations will be operating, as shown by last year's statistic. There's a picture right there of the station that's at the lab, the W1AW lab. It's an old Gates broadcast transmitter. There's Tim Smith, WA1HLR, who's one of the people who actually helped get that thing up and running. He probably did the most amount of work on it, I would say. But Tim, myself, Dan Brown, all helped. And, of course, Bob down there at the league himself got that thing going. But Tim did the lion's share of the work, I would say. But it's a real fun event, and the purpose of the event is to get people on AM. If you've got a multi-mode transmitter that operates, say, on sideband and FM and so on and so forth, push that AM button and get on and join us. And the nice thing about the AM Rally is anybody can win it because we have categories. In other words, let's say you're running a barefoot IC 7300, which, by the way, was the most used transmitter during last year's AM Rally. I am the person that does all the data reduction and the statistics. I provide all the back-end logistics, the logging software. And so my software will go through and glean through the comments what people are running for transmitters. So it turned out the ICOM 7300 was the most popular transmitter of last year's AM Rally. So more people ran that rig than any other individual kind of transmitter, showing that anybody can get on with anything. So if you've got an ICOM 7300, you're in a certain power category that fits that device. And if you make, 300 contacts or 100 or whatever it is, you could win that category. And we have a lot of categories. So this has become a pretty big event. It started about, I started the first one, I can't even remember, 7 or 8 years ago, something like that, the first AM Rally. And it's just been growing and growing and growing. We've had a lot of help from people like Clark, N1BCG, and Brian, KB3WFV, working directly with people at the league to get promotion for this. And Brian Clark has been absolutely instrumental in that whole area. He's great. And Brian will be operating during the event as well. I will, Clark will. We are now the 3 event organizers. That's N1BCG, that's Clark, KB3WFV, that's Brian, and myself, WA1QIX. We organize this event. And I have to say that we all pretty much do an equal amount of work. I tend to be more on the back end, but Clark is more on the front end with PR and so on and so forth. So that's kind of a synopsis of the event. You don't have to have a station that looks like this. You know, your 7300s and all that are absolutely just as welcome as stuff that looks as if it was built in the 1950s, but in fact was just built recently, because that's what I like to do.
Well, that's all.
What do you think about
great,
that, Bob?
Yeah, the great information, Steve, and it's so true. I get it a lot because I work most of the time on AM, and I'll have guys, I'll talk to them on the phone or see them at HamFest, and have you been on AM? Oh, I can't do, I don't have a transmitter. Every transceiver today works well, and used to be you had to do a lot of finagling to get it to even work, even though it had an AM button. Today, you just push that AM button and talk. It sets the levels and all. I might have to watch the microphone gain, but I find that a lot of people are afraid to get on AM. Let me tell you something. When you get on AM, it's a whole different world. It's a whole different world. You're going to converse with guys and have some great contacts, and you get to talk to people like Steve and all of these really great people that operate AM all the time, and they're very helpful in the technical advantages. So we look forward to working all of you. And Steve, I'll be looking forward to catching you guys on the contest. We'll be on and make it happen. I'll have my I'll probably be with my Harvey Wells. It's my first transmitter.
Yep.
1956, still has original tubes. I use it each morning that I'm down at the place, and I love that old baby. So we'll catch up with you and make some more contacts on AM. And it's wonderful to see the revitalization of AM. And I think seeing that
amazing.
big gauge go into W1AW really nailed it, didn't it?
It really put a big exclamation point on it. I'm going to be down there actually at the league headquarters during the event, doing some operating, and I'll be operating that station as well as operating my own station, remote controlled from the league, and of course directly in the station. That's another thing we can talk about someday on your program, Bob, is how to remote control your transmitter.
Okay. Yeah, we got a little video. Before we get out of here, let's have Victor bring that video up.
Greetings. This is Bob, WB1 GCM, here at the ARRL laboratory. I'll be operating this really neat transmitter. It's a Gates BC1T during the AM rally. So please join us and have fun operating AM.
Bob is a great guy too. He just he loves ham radio. He was our marathon man last AM rally. I think he made over 400 contacts, all on AM.
Yeah. Well, it's alive and well and growing, and we invite every one of you. Try it. This will be the time to do it during the rally. Steve, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll have to come on and talk more about some of the things that you have behind you, because you have quite a selection of things, and especially your modulation monitor that you build, and a lot of us own. We'll come back and talk about that. But until then, I guess we'll see you during the rally. Steve, thank you so very much.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, we're going to have some fun, and I would hope that during all of this that I hear that Amanda lady, her and Jeff, I would hope they would be on AM with us. What do you think?
I think that I need to make my first AM contact. That's what I need to do. So this looks like it's the place to do it.
Yes, it does, and you don't have to have wires and all that. Just get on and push that AM button. And I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Good to be here. And what's going on? I haven't been able to see one piece of the chat room because I've been doing all the other stuff. But you've been holding down the fort. What you have for us?
I have been holding down the fort, but the first question I want to ask is, Bob, since you bring up, if this is your first time on AM, tell us what kind of power should we be running on our rigs?
Well, I just have a new rig that I showed it to you a couple weeks ago.
Yeah,
the Mars
yes.
runs 5 watts. Okay. I've been working all over the country with that little baby. But it's better to have 25, 30, 40 watts. The Harvey Wells I told you about, that runs 50 watts. You don't have to have a kilowatt. In fact, the legal limit on AM, the legal limit is not 1,500 watts. It's 300 or 400 watts right in there. None of us run that kind of power. Most everybody runs 100 watts, and you don't need a lot of power. It's all about audio. You got to have good audio, and AM rigs do. So, no, you do not need a kilowatt. If you have a 7300 and you push that AM button, I think, I could be wrong on this, I think it gets 50 watts. It sets the radio at 50 watts, sets up the carrier and the audio automatically for you. So, don't worry, it's not big high power stuff. It's all about the audio.
Well, there you have it. And Ham Nation viewers, if you decide to try out the contest and have some fun with it, post on our Facebook page and let us know how you did and what you used to make those contacts. So that being said, I want to go back to the RF conversation with Tim, which was highly educational. I asked a few of you guys, what are some of your RF problems that you've had? Give me your craziest story. I'm not sure I heard the craziest story, but I'll tell you some of them. One person said that they had a TV that used one of those ultrasonic remote controls, and every time the dog would walk near it, his collar would change the channels. Interesting. Another said RF in the HK sub, never got rid of it. Okay, fine. Another one said that their church across the street uses wireless microphones, and he now just decides to not transmit at 09:30 in the morning because his RF gets into their microphones. That's very sweet of you, Bill, by the way. Let's see. Microphone cable, cheap junk. No, we'll skip that one. This one's a good one. Setting off all of the GFIs in your house. I've done that, actually. I've been walking through my bathroom as I'm talking on the radio, and pop, there goes the GFI. And another one, and this is not radio related, but we all know, and this is how I learned about RF, and Jeff explained it to me this way. He said, you remember when you were a kid and you're using your blow dryer and you interrupted your dad's sports program because the TV went scrambled? Yes, I remember that. And I used to remember him yelling a lot. So, Don, RF, what's your craziest one?
I got bit on the lip once from some RF. I was using an ICOM 738, I think, into a it was a 160 meter off-center fed dipole, Carolina Windham, and apparently there is an optimum length of coax for that antenna, and I was using not the optimum length. And once that somebody told me, so we tried 90 feet, I believe is what it was. So I put a 90-foot piece of coax on it, and it all went away. I use the ugly balance now, or the ugly balance, built on a 4-inch PVC form, about 23 feet, I think it is, of coax wrapped around that 4-inch form. And it has solved my RFI problems for the most part, but I definitely want to follow Tim Duffy's advice and do some ferrite beating on some other stuff around here, not necessarily because I need it, but just because it seems like the right thing to do. And I've been making some AM contacts this year, a lot more than I have previously. And I've got an ICOM 7600, and the manual says 30 watts is the AM output, and it works just fine. It's not like sideband where you need, the more power the better. AM works perfectly well with this 7600. On 30 watts. So have fun with that. I'm going to be traveling during AM Rally weekend, but won't be able to operate. But I've been doing more AM this year.
Very good. That sounds like fun. And I do have one other RF thing, and this was a story of a ham radio operator was kind of getting accused of interfering, and it finds out this lady was always watching her shows, and only during her shows was the TV interrupted and not during her husband's shows. Turns out that she used to use an old heating pad that would interfere, but she thought it was the ham radio operator next door. This brings me to George. George, I think this is on the tech class question pool, but when that kind of thing happens, when you're a ham radio operator, what are you supposed to do about it?
Well, according to Gordo, when they knock on the door, you answer it by saying, "Are you still getting that same interference I am?" No, you know,
correct.
You should try to help them resolve it. You may not necessarily can, but you know, just try to work with them and be patient with them, and hopefully they'll be patient with you. Some things just can't be resolved. Being a broadcast engineer and working around transmitters since 1972, I've seen a lot of RFI issues. Yeah, and too many to talk about. So I would just say, you know, try ferrite feeds, try grounding. It just depends on what the case is. But first thing to do is probably make sure your equipment's operating properly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Another thing is we were operating in our apartment building with the 500 watt AL811, and we first ran the extension cord into our bathroom, which was not very far away, and we had perfect audio signals. The next day, Jeff had changed the plugs that he plugged it into, and we had RF, and they said, you sound terrible. Whatever's on your signal, it's awful. Just stop talking. So we had to switch it back. So sometimes it's all about what circuit you're using in your house. Another thing, speaking of AM, Don, yes. Where are we streaming at tonight? WTWW, right?
Yeah.
And they use a lot more than 30 watts, though. A lot more than 30 watts.
Hey, here's a funny RFI story that I hadn't even thought about. Back when I was a kid, messing around with CB radio, I would get into the neighbor's TV, and it was so funny because the next morning I'd be outside doing something, and the lady who lived across the street, Don Ray, were you on your shortwave again last night? Which is funny because my middle name is not Ray. She called me Don Ray, and I don't know why. It's just I hadn't thought about that in decades. But Don Ray, you're on your shortwave again? Yes, Pauline, I'm on my shortwave again.
So I do have one more. I know we're going over, but we used to live about 250 feet from where I work at the print shop, right? And our phones are all cordless at the print shop. Well, my mom, one morning, I'm making some copies for a customer and all this good stuff. And she gets off the phone and she says, "Amanda, I swear I just heard Jeff's call sign over the phone." I said, "What?" She said, "I'm not kidding you. I'm hearing Jeff's voice." So sure enough, because our dipole was kind of faced that way on 40 meters with 500 watts, it was getting into our cordless phone system as he was talking to somebody across the state. But anyhow, okay, enough of that. We all have our RF stories, and they're all cute and funny. Let's see. We've got some nets tonight. The 40-meter net, unfortunately, is off. Band conditions are just horrible right there. So and I have not seen on 80 meters, I have not seen Steve post everybody, so I'm really sorry about that. And so we have the DMR net on TAC 311 and also D-Star on 14 Charlie. So I'm waiting. I'm hesitating and pausing here to see if they're going to post if there's a 75-meter net, and I'm not seeing anything. So with that, we'll call it a night. Who's wrapping it up tonight? Bob? You?
Well, I have one other important thing that we didn't mention, and it should be big headlines. That is, there are AM windows. You can't just slam in your sideband signal wherever you want. You want to be a perfect gentleman about this, because this is a gentleman's agreement. It was done back in the late 50s. I know, because I was there. You want to talk about wars? We're talking about the sidebanders that would go over to the AM guy's house with axes. I mean, it was terrible. Finally, they got together and said, okay. And they specifically laid out windows. And sideband guys, you go anywhere you want, But from 3870 to 3890, that is reserved for the AM signals. 7290 to 7295. Those are the two hot spots of AM. Go into Google and put AM window in the ARRL, from the ARRL, and you'll see all the things going on. But those are the hot spots. And it's really sad because a lot of guys get very belligerent about it. Oh, got a license, I can go where I want. That's true. But to be a perfect gentleman, let's pay attention to our neighbors. And this was a thing that's been going on for years. And a lot of the new guys since late 70s, 80s, they don't know about the gentleman's agreement. And so we want to pass it on that 3870, the 3890, and then 7290 to 7295. That's really where most of it happens. So we'll see you there.
Bob,
yes.
I have one other question. When you're making AM contacts, are they the same as your normal SSB contacts? Do you exchange signal reports? What else? Anything we should know about?
Yep, but you don't. Sometimes you might talk for 8 or 10 minutes. You just don't. You're not on there just little shorties. We talk a little more. That's why some of us like it, and we don't have to switch it back and forth and so on. But listen to some of the AM contacts, and you'll hear it. You'll hear the gist of how it all goes. There you are. Thank you very much, Victor. There are the AM frequencies. Let's go to the ARRL and put in the AM window, and there you go. And I think if you pay attention to that, everybody be happy. Well, thanks a lot. It's been a big, nice show. And I hope you had a pencil, like I told you, because there was a lot to learn. So you can go back and look at the replays. But there's a significant amount of knowledge with the RFI stuff. And we just touched on it. So I think we might have chapter 2 before too long. Thanks, everybody. We're going to see you back here next week, right here on Ham Nation. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you watching each week. I'm going to go get my organ program together for Saturday nights at 7 or 8 o'clock on WTWW. We crank up the old theater organ. So we're going to go do that in a while so we can ship it up to them. In the meantime, turn on your transmitter, get on the air, be kind, be gentle, have fun, and most of all, enjoy this great hobby. Thanks to Leo Laporte for the bandwidth. Thanks to you, Victor. And thanks to all the hosts and everybody that put so much together to make this show work. I'm Bob Heil, K9EID, and we will see you back here next week. Bye-bye for now.